Kate Morgan stared at the monitor, her eyes burning from 18 hours of non-stop work. The tiny research station orbiting Jupiter wasn't made for comfort, but it offered something better: silence and isolation perfect for breakthrough science. "Come on," she whispered, adjusting another setting on her experimental faster-than-light communication device. This was attempt number 47. The previous 46 had failed in various spectacular ways, but Kate wasn't one to give up. "Theory." Station hummed around her, the familiar sounds of air recyclers and power generators creating a mechanical lullaby she'd grown accustomed to during her 3-year posting. Outside the reinforced windows, Jupiter's massive form loomed, bands of swirling storms creating a backdrop for her work that no Earthbound lab could match. "All systems ready." "Beginning test 47, Kate said aloud, though no one was there to hear her. Her voice helped focus her thoughts. She pressed the activation sequence and watched as energy levels climbed. What Kate didn't know, couldn't know, was that her device wasn't just sending signals into empty space. Each attempt had been pushing closer to something much bigger than she imagined. The device began to vibrate. This was new. A high-pitched whine filled the lab as energy patterns shifted in ways her instruments struggled to measure. On her monitor, strange symbols flashed. Not error codes from her system, but something else entirely. "What the—" Kate's hands flew across the keyboard, trying to understand what she was seeing. The signal patterns resembled nothing in her programming. They had structure, rhythm, complexity. They looked almost like language. Kate felt her heart racing as the truth dawned on her. This wasn't random noise. She'd accidentally tapped into something. 27 light-years away, in a part of space Earth's astronomers had studied but never found anything remarkable, an alert blared in a monitoring station. The Galactic Confederation, an alliance of 27 advanced species that had ruled known space for 12,000 years, had detected an impossible breach. Senior Monitor Vex Trowel, a being with 6 specialized limbs and skin that shifted colors with emotion, turned deep purple with alarm. His translator implant struggled to process what he was seeing. "Overseer, we have unauthorized access to the primary communication network." His voice trilled with distress. "Origin point is in a system marked as pre-contact primitive. Across the monitoring chamber, beings of various forms and evolutionary paths looked up from their stations. Unknown species accessing their secure network was unprecedented. It had never happened in recorded history. The Overseer, a towering figure with crystalline growths instead of hair, moved to the central platform. Isolate and trace the signal. Full defensive protocols now." Back at the Jupiter station, Kate watched in amazement as more symbols flowed across her screen. She grabbed a data pad and began recording everything. This could change humanity's understanding of the universe forever. Proof of intelligent life and their communications, right there on her screen. She didn't notice the small alert in the corner of her secondary monitor. Strange energy readings were appearing at the edge of the station's detection range. Something was coming. "Alan, you need to see this," Kate said into her communicator, calling her research partner who was sleeping in the station's small crew quarters. "I think I've picked up an alien signal. Not just random emissions, actual structured communication." Alan Nichols groaned as he woke up. "Kate, it's 3 a.m. station time. Are you sure it's not just—" "I'm sure," Kate interrupted. "Get in here." Alan was still pulling on his station jumpsuit when the lab lights flickered and died, replaced seconds later by the dull red emergency lighting. "Power failure?" he asked, stumbling into the lab. Kate shook her head, her eyes never leaving the screen. "Systems are still running. This is something else." The station trembled. A low humming sound penetrated the walls, making their teeth vibrate. Kate felt pressure building in her ears as though the air itself was changing. "We need to—" she began but never finished her sentence. A circle of blinding white light appeared in the center of the lab. It expanded rapidly, engulfing workstations and equipment. Kate tried to back away, but the light moved too quickly. The last thing she saw was Alan's face, frozen in horror as he reached toward her. Then everything vanished. Across the galaxy, the Confederation's High Council gathered in emergency session. 13 representatives from the most powerful member species sat in a chamber designed to accommodate their vastly different biological needs. Some floated in tanks of specialized liquid, others required extreme heat or cold. 2 existed primarily as energy patterns contained in crystalline matrices. First speaker Zov, a mammalian being with 4 eyes and silver fur, addressed the gathering. An unknown species has accessed our secure communication network. Our analysts confirm this was not an accident. This represents a security breach of the highest order. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing the Sol system, Earth, and the small research station where the signal originated. The species calls themselves humans. They are carbon-based bipeds with minimal technological development. They have achieved limited spaceflight within their home system, but possess no faster-than-light capabilities. Another council member, a being composed of layered exoskeletons, clicked its mandibles in agitation. How could such primitives access our network? It should be impossible. That is precisely why this matter is so urgent, Zov replied. Our preliminary analysis of the human responsible suggests abnormalities. Their neural patterns show disturbing similarities to ancient warnings in our oldest records. The council chamber grew silent. Every member understood the reference. 12,000 years ago, the legendary precursors, those who established the foundation of all Confederation technology, had left warnings about certain neural patterns never to be allowed to develop. The human must be contained and studied, Zov continued. I have already dispatched a scout ship. The specimen will be secured and brought to Central Research. The human's home planet will remain under quarantine until we determine the full extent of the threat. On the Jupiter station, Alan Nichols stared at the empty space where Kate had been standing moments before. The security cameras had captured only a flash of light, then nothing. Kate Morgan had vanished without a trace. He looked at her monitor, still displaying the strange symbols. With shaking hands, he downloaded everything to a secure drive. Whatever had taken Kate was connected to what she'd discovered. He was sure of it. I'll find you, he whispered to the empty lab. Whatever it takes. Far beyond the edges of explored space, Kate awoke in a transparent chamber. Strange beings moved around outside, studying her. Their forms were unlike anything in Earth's wildest science fiction. Some had too many limbs. Others seemed to phase in and out of solid state. One appeared to be made entirely of interconnected light strands. Fear gripped her chest, making it hard to breathe. But alongside the terror was a spark of something else, a scientist's curiosity. She had discovered alien life. Or rather, alien life had discovered her. Kate pressed her hand against the transparent wall. One of the beings, smaller than the others with iridescent skin that rippled like water, approached and placed something that might have been a hand against the other side. The hunt had begun. But neither Kate nor the Confederation yet understood that the hunted would soon become the hunter. Kate lost track of time in the transparent chamber. Without day and night cycles, she could only guess how long she had been held captive. Her best estimate was 3 days, marked by periods of sleep and the delivery of a strange, gel-like substance that she assumed was food. The chamber itself was sparse but not uncomfortable. A flat surface served as both bed and seat. A small alcove in one corner provided what Kate had figured out was a waste disposal unit. The temperature remained perfectly comfortable, not too warm, not too cold, as if the aliens had researched the ideal conditions for human biology. Kate spent hours observing her captors. She counted 7 different species regularly visiting. What she now understood was some kind of laboratory. She gave them nicknames based on their appearances: Mantis, Shimmer, Cloudy, Crystal, Tentacles, Floater, and Lights. Mantis seemed to be in charge. The tall, insect-like being with compound eyes directed the others with sharp clicking sounds. Kate noticed how the others responded immediately to these commands, their movements becoming more hurried and precise. On what Kate guessed was the 4th day, something changed. A new device was brought into the room outside her chamber. It resembled a large floating orb with countless small appendages extending from its surface. Mantis approached her chamber and pressed something on the outside wall. A section of the transparent material dissolved, creating an opening. Kate's heart raced. Was this her chance to escape? She tensed, ready to run, but before she could move, an invisible force held her in place. She could breathe and blink, but her limbs refused to obey her commands. The floating orb entered her chamber, its appendages twitching as it circled her. Kate tried to scream, but her vocal cords were also frozen. The orb stopped directly in front of her face. 3 needle-thin probes extended from it, moving toward her forehead. Kate felt a sharp pain as the probes made contact with her skin, followed by a strange vibration that seemed to travel through her skull and into her brain. Images and symbols flashed through her mind, the same symbols she had seen on her monitor back at the Jupiter station. Just as suddenly as it began, the process ended. The orb retreated and the force holding Kate in place disappeared. She collapsed onto the bed, gasping. "Human specimen shows unusual neural patterns," a voice said in perfect English. Kate's head snapped up. Mantis was speaking, and somehow, she understood every word. "The translation implant is functioning," Mantis continued, not speaking to Kate but to the others. "Begin the questioning." Kate realized what had happened. The orb had given her some kind of translator that allowed her to understand their language. This changed everything. "Where am I?" Kate demanded, standing up. "Why did you take me?" Mantis turned to her, compound eyes reflecting light in fractured patterns. "You are aboard the Confederation research vessel, Eternal Vigilance. You were brought here because you accessed systems beyond your species' development level. This should have been impossible." "I was just testing a communication device," Kate said. "I didn't know I was tapping into your network." Mantis made a sound that might have been a laugh. "A primitive primate accidentally breaching security protocols that have stood for thousands of years? The High Council finds this claim difficult to accept." The being called Shimmer, with skin that rippled like water, stepped forward. "Senior Researcher Zeethkral, the preliminary brain scans are complete. You should see this." Kate filed away the information. Mantis had a name, Zeethkral, and a title, Senior Researcher. Zeethkral moved to a floating display that showed a 3-dimensional image of what Kate recognized as a brain. Her brain. Beside it was an image of another brain, clearly not human, with different proportions and structures. "Impossible," Zeethkral said, the translator carrying the tone of shock in the alien's voice. "Run the comparison again." "It has been verified 3 times, Shimmer replied. "The human's neural patterns in the mathematical processing regions show the configuration we have been warned about." Kate strained to hear more, but they moved away from her chamber, their voices becoming too quiet for her to understand. Over the next several days, the testing intensified. Kate was subjected to increasingly complex mathematical problems displayed on screens in her chamber. She solved them easily, not understanding why simple equations would interest advanced aliens. Between tests, she learned more about her situation by listening to the researchers' conversations. Earth was unknown to the Confederation until her signal breach. Now her planet was under quarantine while the Confederation decided what to do about the human problem. On the 7th day, something unexpected happened. Kate awoke to find Shimmer alone in the lab, working at a console near her chamber. "Hello," Kate said cautiously. Shimmer looked up, then glanced around as if checking they were truly alone. "My name is Ilara," Shimmer said quietly. "I'm not supposed to speak directly with you." "Why are you?" Kate asked. "Because I disagree with how this is being handled," Ilara replied. "Your species is being judged based on ancient prejudices and fear." Kate moved closer to the transparent wall. "What aren't they telling me? Why am I really here?" Ilara hesitated, then moved closer. "The Confederation is ruled by the 27 species that have achieved certain technological and social development levels. But the Confederation is much older than its current members. It was established by beings we call the Precursors, who vanished 12,000 years ago. What does that have to do with me? Kate asked. The precursors left warnings about certain neural configurations, brain patterns that could potentially access the underlying mathematical structure of reality itself. For millennia, the Confederation has contained or redirected species showing early signs of these patterns. Ilara's skin rippled with what Kate interpreted as agitation. Your brain shows the most complete expression of these patterns ever discovered. Kate struggled to process this information. You're saying I have some special brain that scares them? You solved equations yesterday that our most advanced artificial intelligence systems require significant time to process, Ilara said. You did it intuitively without understanding their significance. Those equations describe interdimensional access points, the foundation of our faster-than-light communication network. A sound from the lab entrance made Ilara quickly move, away from Kate's chamber. She pretended to be checking equipment as Zithkral entered with 2 guards. Prepare the specimen for transfer, Zithkral ordered. The High Council has decided to move her to Central Research for more extensive testing. Kate watched Ilara's reaction. The alien's skin briefly flashed a dark purple pattern before returning to its normal iridescent state. Something about this transfer was bad news. That night, as Kate lay on her bed pretending to sleep, she heard the soft sound of her chamber opening. She tensed, ready to defend herself. Quickly, Ilara whispered. They plan to dissect your brain tomorrow. We have one chance to get you out. Kate didn't hesitate. She slipped off the bed and followed Ilara through the opening in her chamber. The laboratory looked different in the dim emergency lighting, more alien and threatening. Put these on, Ilara whispered, handing Kate what looked like a thin suit made of flowing metallic fabric. It will mask your biosignature from the ship's sensors. Kate quickly pulled the suit over her plain white clothes. It adjusted to her body, tightening in some places and loosening in others until it fit perfectly. Where are we going? Kate asked, keeping her voice low. Lower decks first, Ilara replied. I've created a false alarm in Section 23. That will keep security busy. We need to reach the archives. Shouldn't we head for escape pods or something? Kate asked, confused. Ilara's skin flashed a pattern that the translator didn't convert. You need to understand what's happening before you leave. The archives will show you the truth about the Confederation and why you're so important. They moved through corridors that seemed to shift and change, the walls themselves flowing like liquid metal. Kate realized the ship was partially alive, responding to those who traveled through it. The ship isn't detecting you, Ilara said with obvious relief. Stay close to me. If anyone approaches, let me do the talking. They descended through 20 levels using transport tubes that operated without visible controls. Ilara simply touched the walls and communicated with the ship somehow. The deeper they went, the older the ship appeared. The sleek, flowing surfaces gave way to more angular, crystalline structures. These sections were built during the third expansion, Ilara explained. Over 9,000 years ago, few come down here now. They reached a massive door covered in symbols similar to those Kate had seen on her monitor back on Jupiter. The sight sent a chill down her spine. Can you read these? Ilara asked, pointing to the symbols. Kate was about to say no when she realized with a shock that she could. The symbols seemed to rearrange themselves in her mind, forming patterns she somehow understood. It says Historical Archive Authorized Access Only, Kate read aloud, then added with surprise. But how can I read this? The translation implant shouldn't allow that, Ilara said, her skin rippling with excitement. These are precursor symbols. No translation system can fully decode them. You're reading them naturally. Before Kate could process this information, Ilara placed her hand on a panel beside the door. After a moment of hesitation, the massive door slid open. Inside was a vast chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with soft light. The center of the room held a circular platform surrounded by floating displays. This is a precursor archive node, Ilara explained. One of the few the Confederation hasn't completely locked down. I have limited access because of my research status, but with your help, we might be able to access more. Kate approached the platform cautiously. As she stepped onto it, the crystals around the room pulsed brighter, and the floating displays activated, showing streams of the same symbols she had seen on the door. "The system is responding to you," Alara said with awe. "It recognizes your neural patterns." Kate felt a strange connection to the technology around her, as if it was an extension of her own mind. She reached out toward one of the displays, and the symbols rearranged themselves, showing images of beings unlike any she had seen on the ship. "The precursors," Alara whispered. The beings had humanoid forms but with elongated limbs and enlarged cranial structures. Kate felt an odd familiarity as she studied them. "They look almost human," she said. "That's impossible," Alara replied. "The precursors vanished 12,000 years ago. Humans weren't even using tools then." But as more images appeared, the connection became clearer. The archive showed precursor gene sequences alongside other species, including a primitive version that was unmistakably human. They were experimenting with human genetics, Kate realized. But why? The display shifted again, showing a star map with hundreds of worlds marked in different colors. Most were grouped in clusters, but Earth stood alone, isolated in a section of space marked with warning symbols. "The Sanctuary Project," Alara read from a section of text. "They were protecting something." Kate's fingers moved across the display instinctively, accessing deeper layers of information. Images flashed by too quickly for Alara to follow, but Kate absorbed them all. She saw records of a conflict among the precursors, a split in their civilization. One faction believed in guiding other species' development. The other faction argued for non-interference, allowing natural evolution. The non-interference group lost the conflict, but managed to hide something precious, genetic material containing what they called the potential. They seeded this material on a remote, protected world where the dominant faction wouldn't look. "Earth," Kate whispered. "They hid their legacy on Earth." "This changes everything," Alara said. "The Confederation has been containing species with precursor-like traits for millennia, claiming they were dangerous. But if humans were deliberately created as their heirs..." An alarm suddenly blared through the archive chamber. Red light pulsed along the crystalline walls. "They've discovered you're missing," Alara said urgently. "We need to move." Kate quickly accessed one more section of the archive, downloading as much information as she could into a small device Alara handed her. "Where do we go now?" Kate asked, as they rushed toward the door. "The communication hub," Alara decided. "You need to warn your people. The Confederation will classify humans as a Class 1 threat now. They might decide to eliminate the risk entirely." Kate felt cold fear grip her chest. "You mean they would destroy Earth?" "It's happened before," Alara said grimly. "The official records call it containment, but entire species have been wiped out when the 27 felt threatened." They ran through corridors that were now flashing with alert signals. The ship itself seemed to be hunting them, the passages narrowing and changing to slow their progress. "The ship is working against us," Alara said. "My access is being revoked." They barely made it into a transport tube before the corridor behind them sealed completely. The tube carried them upward, toward the mid-levels of the massive ship. "The communication hub is 3 sections from here," Alara said as they exited the tube. "We'll have to..." She never finished her sentence. A beam of energy struck her from behind, causing her body to convulse. Kate caught Alara as she collapsed, her skin rapidly losing its iridescent color. "Run," Alara whispered, her translator failing as her systems shut down. "Find Commander Dax, Resistance." Kate looked up to see Zith Kral approaching with a squad of security officers, all holding weapons pointed at her. "An unfortunate end for a promising researcher," Zith Kral said, looking at Alara's still form. "Contaminated by human influence, just as the ancient warnings predicted." Kate gently lowered Alara to the floor. Something had changed inside her. The fear was gone, replaced by a cold, clear purpose. She stood to face Zith Kral, her mind racing through the information she had absorbed from the archive. "You've been lying to everyone for thousands of years," Kate said. "I know the truth now." Zith Kral's compound eyes flashed. "The truth? You've seen obsolete data from a civilization that destroyed itself. The Confederation protects the galaxy from repeating their mistakes. No, Kate said firmly. You've been suppressing any species that might challenge your control. The precursors didn't destroy themselves. Your ancestors eliminated them because they were afraid, just like you're afraid of humans now. Security officers moved forward, but Kate wasn't finished. You should be afraid, she said, her voice steady. Because I'm not the only human who can do what I do. There are billions of us, and now I know how to wake them up. Kate's defiant words hung in the air. For a moment, even Zithkral seemed stunned by her confidence. The security officers looked to their leader, waiting for orders. Restrain her, Zithkral finally commanded, his voice cold. Full neural suppression, this time. The officers moved forward, but Kate was ready. During her captivity, she had observed how the ship's systems responded to thought patterns. Now, focusing intensely, she reached out with her mind toward the corridor's control systems. The lights flickered. A panel in the wall exploded in a shower of sparks. The security officers hesitated, confused by the sudden malfunction. Kate didn't wait. She ran, ducking under the arm of the nearest officer and sprinting down an adjoining corridor. Behind her, she heard Zithkral shouting orders. She had no plan beyond escape. But her mind processed the ship's layout as if she had studied it for years. Each intersection, each choice of direction seemed obvious to her now. The information from the archives had changed something fundamental in how her brain worked. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Announcements in multiple languages warned of a dangerous escaped specimen. Kate kept running, using her new connection to the ship's systems to create distractions, doors closing unexpectedly, gravity fluctuations, sensor ghosts showing her in multiple locations. After 20 minutes of desperate flight, Kate found herself in a small maintenance bay. Ships of various sizes were docked in individual berths, most undergoing repairs. Workers had abandoned their posts when the alarm sounded, leaving tools scattered about. Kate approached the smallest vessel she could see, a sleek oval craft about the size of a small bus. It looked fast, and more importantly, it had no obvious crew quarters. It was likely designed for a single pilot. The craft's entry hatch was sealed, but Kate placed her hand on the access panel beside it. Closing her eyes, she focused on the patterns she had seen in the archives, imagining them flowing from her mind into the ship's systems. The panel lit up, and the hatch slid open. Thank you, Kate whispered to the ship, feeling strangely certain it could understand her. She climbed inside and found a cockpit with a single pilot's chair surrounded by displays and controls. As she settled into the chair, the displays activated automatically, showing status reports and navigation charts. Kate had never flown anything more complex than a simulator on Earth, but as she looked at the controls, she understood them instinctively. The precursor knowledge awakened in her mind guided her hands. The maintenance bay doors were closed, but Kate found the emergency launch protocol in the ship's systems. She activated it, overriding the safety protocols. Warning lights flashed as the bay began to depressurize. The bay doors started to open, revealing the star-filled blackness of space beyond. Kate powered up the ship's engines, feeling them hum to life beneath her. Unauthorized launch detected, a computerized voice announced throughout the maintenance bay. Security lockdown initiated. The bay doors stopped moving, only half open. Kate pushed the engines to maximum, steering the small craft toward the opening. It was going to be tight. The ship scraped against the partially open doors as it shot out into space. Alarms blared in the cockpit, warning of minor hull damage. But Kate was free. The freedom was short-lived. On her displays, she saw larger ships, launching from the Eternal Vigilance. They would catch her quickly if she tried to run. Kate scanned the navigation charts looking for options. There was nowhere to hide in open space, and she didn't know enough about this region to find sanctuary. But one option stood out: a nearby asteroid field dense enough to make pursuit difficult. She directed the ship toward the asteroids, pushing, its engines beyond recommended limits. The pursuing ships followed, gaining steadily. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a chaotic mass of tumbling rocks ranging from car-sized to small, moon-sized. Kate plunged in without hesitation, trusting her new instincts. Flying through the asteroid field was like a deadly dance. Kate's hands moved across the controls with impossible precision, guiding the ship through gaps that seemed too small to navigate. Behind her, the pursuing ship slowed, unwilling to take the same risks. One by one, they pulled back, unable to match her seemingly suicidal course. All except one, a sleek, predatory vessel that followed her every move, staying just out of weapons range. Kate recognized it from the ship's database. It was a hunter-killer vessel called the Silence, used by the Confederation's Elite Enforcement Division. The pilot must be exceptionally skilled to follow her through the asteroid field. For hours, the deadly game continued. Kate's ship took damage from near misses with asteroids, but she kept pushing deeper into the field. The Silence remained, on her tail, patient and relentless. Finally, Kate spotted what she needed, a massive asteroid with a deep crater on one side. She dove toward it, cutting her engines at the last moment and gliding into the crater's shadow. She powered down all non-essential systems and waited. The Silence circled the asteroid twice before moving on, continuing its search pattern deeper into the field. Kate allowed herself to breathe again. Using the ship's communication system, Kate began scanning for any transmissions that might help her. Most were in Confederation languages discussing her escape, but one frequency carried a different kind of message, coded and hidden beneath normal communication traffic. Kate focused on this signal, using her enhanced perception to decode it. It was a message repeated at regular intervals. Sanctuary for the hunted, freedom for the contained, resistance lives. At the end of the message was a set of coordinates. Kate checked her charts. The coordinates pointed to a small planetoid on the edge of a nebula, at least 3 days' journey from her current position. It was risky. Her ship had taken damage, and Confederation forces would be searching for her. But she had nowhere else to go. After making basic repairs to her ship's systems, Kate cautiously navigated out of the asteroid field and set course for the coordinates. She needed allies, and whoever was sending that message sounded like they opposed the Confederation. During the journey, Kate explored the ship's database, learning everything she could about Confederation technology, politics, and history. The more she learned, the more she understood why Alara had helped her escape. The Confederation's official history described a benevolent alliance bringing peace and stability to the galaxy. But underneath that narrative was a darker truth: systematic suppression of species deemed evolutionarily dangerous, forced technological stagnation, and planetary containment actions that had wiped out entire civilizations. As Kate approached the coordinates on the third day, her sensors detected a massive energy signature hiding within the nebula, far larger than the small planetoid she expected to find. Before she could investigate further, her ship's communications system activated. "Unidentified vessel," a voice said in a language her translator rendered as heavily accented English. "You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself and state your purpose." Kate hesitated, then responded truthfully. "My name is Kate Morgan. I'm a human from Earth. I escaped from a Confederation research ship after learning that my species has been marked for containment. I'm looking for someone called Commander Dax." There was a long silence. Then, "Power down your weapons and follow the guidance beacon. Any deviation from the approach vector will result in immediate destruction." A small glowing point of light appeared in front of her ship. Kate followed it into the swirling gases of the nebula, unable to see more than a few meters ahead. Suddenly, the nebula cleared, revealing an incredible sight: a massive space station, built into the remains of what must have been a moon-sized asteroid. Ships of various designs docked along its jagged exterior. It looked cobbled together from salvaged parts, yet somehow magnificent in its defiance of conventional design. "Welcome to Haven," the voice said as a docking bay opened before her. The last free port in the galaxy. 1 year passed since Kate's arrival at Haven. In that time, she had transformed from a fugitive into a legend. The Resistance fighters called her the human who walks between stars, a title that spread through underground networks across the galaxy. Kate stood on the observation deck of Haven Station, watching ships come and go through the protective nebula. Her appearance had changed. Her hair was shorter, her body leaner and stronger from combat training. A thin scar ran along her left cheek from a close encounter with Confederation forces 3 months ago. Still watching for them, a deep voice asked from behind her. Kate didn't need to turn to know it was Commander Dax. The Resistance leader stood nearly 7 feet tall, his gray-scaled skin marked with the ceremonial scars of his people, the Valkyrie, a species nearly wiped out by Confederation containment a century ago. They'll come eventually, Kate replied. The High Council won't stop until they find me. Let them come, Dax said with confidence. Thanks to you, we're ready for them now. Kate had spent the past year teaching the Resistance everything she had learned from the Precursor archives. Her unique ability to interface with ancient technology had unlocked weapons, shields, and communication systems the Confederation had suppressed for millennia. The fleet is prepared for the mission? Kate asked, finally turning to face Dax. He nodded. 26 ships, crewed by fighters from 17 formerly contained species, all equipped with the cloaking systems you helped develop. Today was the day they had been planning for months. Operation Homecoming. Kate was going back to Earth. 3 hours later, Kate sat in the command chair of the Resistance flagship, Liberty, Dawn. The ship, once a rusting hulk salvaged from a Confederation scrapyard, now housed the most advanced technology in the galaxy, reverse-engineered from Precursor designs. All ships report ready, said Lena, a human woman who had been a prisoner on a Confederation mining colony until the Resistance freed her. She was one of 12 humans who had joined Kate's cause after being rescued from various Confederation facilities. Set course for the Sol system, Kate ordered. Stealth protocols active. The fleet entered faster than light travel, using pathways the Confederation didn't know existed. Kate had discovered these shortcuts in the Precursor archives, routes that bent space in ways the Confederation's scientists had never imagined. The journey to Earth took just 2 days instead of the standard 2 weeks. When they emerged from FTL, the Sol system lay before them, beautiful and unaware of the galactic drama unfolding around it. Confederation presence? Kate asked. Blockade of 7 warships in standard orbit around Earth, reported Varric, the ship's sensor operator. They've established a quarantine perimeter. Kate studied the tactical display. The Confederation ships were powerful, but they weren't expecting visitors. Their sensors were focused on Earth, watching for any signs of faster-than-light technology development. Execute Phase 1, Kate ordered. 3 small Resistance ships broke formation, their advanced cloaking systems making them invisible to Confederation sensors. They slipped past the blockade and entered Earth orbit, deploying communication satellites designed to bypass Confederation jamming fields. Phase 1 complete, Lena reported after 30 tense minutes. Communication network established. Kate took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been planning for a year. Open a channel to Earth using Protocol 7, she said. Target all broadcast frequencies. The view screen flickered, then stabilized, showing the familiar blue and green sphere of Earth. Kate activated the ship's external cameras so Earth would see her as well. People of Earth, she began. My name is Kate Morgan. 1 year ago, I was taken from the Jupiter Research Station by representatives of the Galactic Confederation. She explained everything, the Confederation's true nature, the suppression of developing species, the precursor connection to humanity, and the immediate threat Earth faced. The ships orbiting Earth are not here for peaceful contact, she continued. They are here to ensure humans remain contained and controlled. If they detect advanced technology development, they are authorized to reset our civilization. Kate paused, letting her words sink in. Then she continued. But we are not alone in this fight. 17 species stand with humanity today, ready to break the Confederation's control forever. On Earth, chaos erupted as Kate's broadcast reached every television, radio, and digital device simultaneously. Confederation forces scrambled to jam the signal, but the precursor-based technology kept the channel open. Confederation vessels powering weapons, Varric warned. Execute Phase 2, Kate ordered without hesitation. The remaining resistance fleet decloaked simultaneously, surrounding the Confederation blockade. The surprised Confederation ships found themselves outgunned and outpositioned. "Attention Confederation vessels," Kate broadcast. "You are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The Confederation commander responded with expected defiance. "This is Enforcer Captain Melkran of the Confederation Security Fleet. You are in violation of Containment Directive 7 Alpha. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Kate smiled coldly. "Captain Melkran, perhaps you should check with your superiors before making threats." What Kate hadn't revealed was Phase 3, already in progress. While the fleet engaged the blockade, 5 elite resistance teams had infiltrated the Confederation capital world of Nexus Prime. Their target, the High Council chamber itself. "Incoming transmission from Nexus Prime," Lena reported, surprise evident in her voice. "It's the High Council chamber." The viewscreen split, showing a scene of confusion. Resistance fighters stood in the legendary High Council chamber, weapons trained on the 13 most powerful beings in the galaxy. Among the fighters was a face Kate recognized immediately: Alan Nichols, her friend from the Jupiter station. "Kate," Alan said, grinning. "Your timing is perfect as usual." Kate had found Alan 6 months ago, still searching for her across the solar system. He had joined her cause without hesitation, becoming one of her most trusted allies. First Speaker Zov, Kate addressed the leader of the High Council. "I believe we need to discuss new terms for Earth's relationship with the Confederation." The mammalian alien's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in what Kate now recognized as extreme stress. "This is unprecedented. You cannot simply—" "I already have," Kate interrupted. "The precursor archives you've kept hidden for millennia are now being transmitted to every world in the Confederation. Your control through ignorance ends today." The Confederation blockade surrendered 20 minutes later. Within hours, ships from dozens of worlds were breaking free of Confederation control, responding to Kate's call for a new galactic order, one based on cooperation rather than suppression. 3 days later, Kate stood in the United Nations General Assembly in New York, representing humanity to both Earth's leaders and delegates from 17 alien species. The chamber buzzed with excitement and apprehension. "Today marks a new chapter for humanity," Kate said to the assembled delegates. "We take our place among the stars not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. The galaxy once pursued one human, seeking to contain what they feared. Now they hide from her, but not from fear. They hide from the light of truth that will transform us all." As Kate spoke, millions watched around the world. Ships from former Confederation worlds entered the solar system, not as invaders but as delegates seeking alliance. The resistance had become a revolution. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. The human had won. The Confederation had fallen, and a new age had begun. In the back of the chamber, Alan approached Kate after her speech. "So," he asked with a smile, "what's next for the human who walks between stars?" Kate looked up at the ceiling, but her mind was far beyond it, out among the countless worlds waiting to be freed from millennia of control. "There are still corners of the universe where freedom hasn't reached yet," she said. "And I'm just getting started."